Now we're going to take our linear equations and make them pretty. So we talked about in the first video about how there are three different equations of lines: y equals mx plus b, slope-intercept, point-slope form, and standard form. So you pretty much need to be able to go from one to the other. Generally what we're going to do is, as you could tell, a lot of our solving involved using our point-slope form. So we plugged in a point and plugged in a slope. So we ended up with this equation. So generally, but it's hard, you can't really graph it like this. So we need to put it in slope-intercept form. So a lot of times in this video, what we're going to do is we're going to go from point-slope and put it into slope-intercept form. And then sometimes there's an occasion where you need to then take that slope-intercept form and put it in standard form. So this is the rotation we're going to do. I'm going to do some examples of these. So we're going to make it pretty. And as we speak, I just looked out the windows and the JV football game is going on out there, so I want to get through this video so I can get out there and watch our guys and girls. Although we don't have anybody on JV, do we? Okay, so, I'm sorry, we don't have anybody on JV cheerleaders, right? All right, so, okay, so now what we're going to do is, like I said, because a lot of our equations start off with the point-slope form, so I need to go from point-slope and put it in y-intercept. So this is huge. What I need you to notice, please pay attention to what I'm saying right now. In the y-intercept form, the y-intercept form, the y is by itself. So if I have an equation like this, or here's an example down here, my y is not alone. There are no parentheses. All the parentheses have been removed. So all we have to do is get rid of these two parentheses and then get rid of that -3 or -3. So if we can get rid of these parentheses and get rid of the -3, then we're done. Then we're in y equals mx plus b form, or y-intercept form. So to get rid of the parentheses, that's my first step. I'm just simply going to distribute this. So I get 2/5 x plus 12/5. Okay, so 2/5 x plus 12/5. And on this side, I still have y minus 3. So I got rid of my parentheses. That was step 1. So here's step 1. We are done. We're done with step 1. And now I need to get y by itself. So that's going to be my step 2. So my step 2 is going to be to add that 3 to both sides. So when I add 3, now I'm going to add 3 to this number. This one has an x, and you guys know you can't add that 3 to something that already has an x. There's no x there, so they're not like terms. So on this side, I get y equals, so the 2/5 x, that stays alone, and you can leave it as a fraction because that helps me. My rise over run is going to be +2 over +5. And then on your calculator, you can do this, or you can come up with a common denominator, but this is going to be 27/5. So you don't need to do that without a calculator. You can do that with a calculator. So now I have no parentheses and my y is all by itself. So now I am in y-intercept form. So 2 steps to get from point slope to y-intercept. Get rid of your parentheses by distributing, and then move that y1 over. Just add it or subtract it. Okay. Last one. So if I'm in y-intercept form, y equals mx plus b, so just like I ended this one, let's say the instructions were, let's say I had an equation like this, and the instructions were put it in standard form. So there is no direct way to do that. I have to go from point slope to y-intercept. Now I'm going to go from y-intercept to standard. Actually, there is a funky direct way, but I think it's easier to take the steps and go to y-intercept and then move it in standard. So this is what we ended up with in the last equation. So what I want you to notice about this is the x and the y are together. They're on the same side of the equation, and your constant term is off by itself. So right now, my x and y's are on opposite sides. So all I need to do is move this guy over here. So I'm going to get -2/5 x plus y. Notice the x's come first and then the y's, so don't do y minus 2/5. Put the x's first. If they're positive or negative, it's okay, and that's a positive y, equals 27/5. So this kind of is in standard form, but there's this one pretty rule. I talked about making things pretty. A has to be a positive, oops, whole number. And that's sort of redundant because you guys know whole numbers are already, they don't include negatives, right? All right, so this is going to be a positive whole number. So I have got I've got a double whammy here. I've got a negative and I've got a fraction. So this, in other words, means that it has to be positive and no fractions. That's a simplified way of saying what I said up there about whole numbers. So how do I to make that a positive non-fraction number? Well, I'm going to multiply it by something. So negative times negative is positive. So I know I have to multiply it by something negative. And how do I get rid of, what do I have to do to get rid of that denominator? Well, if I multiply by 5, negative 5, or negative 5 over 1, right? That's going to go away, right? The 5 and the 5. But I have to multiply everything, including the other side of the equal sign, everything by that negative 5. So negative times negative is going to give me positive, so I'm going to have 2x left on this side. Then negative 5 times positive 1 is going to give me minus 5y. And negative 5 times 27/5, well, again, this 5 in the numerator and this 5 in the denominator is going to cancel, so I'm going to end up with negative 27. And that is standard form. My x and y's are together. And the leading coefficient, the A coefficient, is just a positive whole number.